Good morning, my dear friends. A warm welcome to one and all of you. And it's my great pleasure to be part of these sessions. And we are doing a lot of motivational studies on various topics. And the intention, the objective is just one. We want to build a lot of motivation and encouragement in people and also induce and instill a lot of positive energy. The reason is because the world is, for some reasons, heading towards negativity. And if you might be observing, if there are 10 positive things, people will be searching for all negativity in that. Yeah, it's not possible, something is wrong. How it is possible for somebody to deliver a success like this? What is wrong in that? People always the world is running so fast. There are a lot of automations happening. There are a lot of events that are differing from one year to the other year, and the world is progressing. It's moving really forward, and fast forward is what I would say. Therefore, human brains has its capacity, and people have invented a lot of robotics, machineries, this and that. And sometimes, the brain capacity doesn't match to the speed of the machines are being programmed, right? So you don't have to feel bad about a lot of ups and downs that you go through in life. Ups are okay, but downs, right? There are a lot of consequences, there are a lot of failures, there are a lot of defeats. There are a lot of scenarios which might have led you to depression. You might have been disheartened, so don't worry about that. You keep working on it and fix it. Why? Because you cannot act like a machine. You can fix the bug, and you can release a new software as a patch release, and immediately it works. No patch release possible in brains. You have to progressively keep working. Give its time. Yeah, the brain sensation is or the brain capacity or the brain IQ is different from person to person. Therefore, do not compare yourself. He was able to fix the problem at some point of time in life, and whereas I'm battling it for a decade. So don't worry. The good news is you will overcome. Have that courage. Have that positivity in you. A warm welcome to this short session. We always pick a topic and we go through it. What is today's topic? Today's topic is very interesting one and very important one, and something that which mankind cannot ignore. And already I covered that in the first 2 minutes. What is that? The world is fast forwarding. The world is running too fast that you have to get adjusted to its pace, and for which there is an important concept. That's something every one of us must be aware: multitasking. Multitasking is nothing but, it is not kind of a skill that is inborn in most of us, but it's a skill which we try to inculcate over a period of time. In this world, when you progress with multiple stuff, for example, born and you're born, you're a toddler, and then you go to a primary school, and then you get into higher secondary school and mid school, higher secondary school, get into college, and then you become professional. How the life cycle is kind of structured from stage to stage, from one period to another period. Life brings in a lot of changes. These are the changes that induces a lot of learning in us, number one. And number two is, this learning kind of gets overwhelmed, added up, incremental, right? What you learned, you will not forget. It will be behind your brains. On top of that, you will learn something new. It will be added up. On top of that, you will add something new. That's why, in a study, it says that you can divide a man's life cycle, or a human life cycle, into 18 different stages at regular intervals. I don't have time to cover because that's not the intention of this session. For example, age number 0 to 3, there is one life cycle. So another 3 to 5, and 5 to 8, and there will be a lot of changes that will be seen in a human's life. And likewise, all the way, you're 70 years old, blessed are you. 8 years old, too blessed. 100 years, my god. You are a miracle, because people don't even cross 70 years these days. Why? Because the main reason is because of stress. People go through a lot of stress, and the reason is because they don't know how to handle this multitasking, right? Now, what is multitasking? Multitasking is very, very simple in definition. You're doing multiple things at the same time, or you're doing multiple things simultaneously. How is it possible, my friend? I have only 10 fingers and two hands and one brain and two eyes and 2 ears. I'm sorry, 2 years, and how much I can do, right? So how much ever a human being can handle is what you can handle. But some people really excel. It's not because they are having that inborn skill. Very, very few people, one in crores or one in million, probably have this inborn skill. They just do it naturally. Example, from birth, I have this inborn skill. Nobody taught me about multitasking. I'm just too good. I know how to handle. But we will talk about the pros and cons of this multitasking. First of all, let's understand the definition and the advantages and the benefits, disadvantages and the consequences. We will deal with that. Just stay connected with me, right? Because many people are concerned, and we are going to deal with that. Understand the definition, isn't it? We are going to deal with multiple things. For example, if you're a homemaker, if you're a housewife, we call it in India housewife, right? You're a mom, you have two kids, and you have your husband obviously going to work in the morning, and kids go to school, and you got to get all the things prepared, breakfast and lunch, dinner probably you can deal with it later. You got to prepare your children, and I mean, and if they're too small, you have to give them bath and shower, and help them getting dressed up and all that. They're grown up, okay, they are independent. And your hubby, is a person who always expects everything on the table on time. Why? Because if it's late, he gets caught up in the traffic. Therefore, you got to look at the clock, and who are all in your mind? Your kids, your husband, your breakfast that you're preparing for them, and the lunch that you're preparing for them, and you're packing them up, for which you need utensils. It got to be in a clean state, just cannot be ugly. And once they are gone, you got to ensure that the house is put in order. That is also running in the brain, which means there are 8 to 9 parallel tracks that have to be covered, or that have to be managed in matter of a hour. That's the time you all get, right? Moms get up at 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning, and 7 a.m. the bus comes to pick the kids. Some of the schools are really far, and your husband hits the road at 8 a.m. in the morning or 7:30 a.m. in the morning. Roughly, you get 1 to 1.5 hours. Now you plan everything in advance. Number one, the best or most important principle for multitasking is set your goals in advance. In other words, you got to be very good planner. You got to be very strong in planning. Planning means what? The day doesn't begin. I mean, the tomorrow doesn't. Tomorrow is not given birth without your permission. You definitely know you're going to step into tomorrow the previous night or the previous day. So it's always a very good habit. That's a principle number one. Maintain a ledger. I have the habit of maintaining a ledger for the week. I basically sit down on Sunday, after I come back from my church and probably have my lunch, and I just sit down, and my ledger is Excel sheet, because I'm not a person who works with a pen and paper most of the times. It's software, and it's easy also. You can manage in the mobile. So I just get to my computer, and start to look at my schedule for the entire week. How is it ahead, and what are the things I got to prepare, what are the things I'm not yet prepared. All those things I will put together. Number two, the planning introduces a lot of actions. You know what is actions, right? Actions means you are not yet ready for the week on certain things. Maybe there are 10 different tasks, but then you're ready with only 5, and not with the remaining 5. And therefore, it gives you enough limelight. It allows enough time for you to be ready with those prerequisites. Therefore, you're able to handle those actions in advance. At least you gather up the materials or all that is needed to handle those actions, right? And number three, important one, that's the third principle. How many of those tasks you will have to deal it in parallel? Understand that? Not all the tasks are sequential or chronological. Understand? One task gets over, therefore I will, kind of look into the next task. For example, task number one is getting ready. Task number two is taking your car and driving to office. I don't think you can do any multitasking while driving. Please don't do multitasking, like one hand in the computer, and listening to somebody on the Bluetooth over the phone and talking to them. Please don't do that. Let your brains concentrate. Why? Because I know more than enough people in my life who ended up in accidents, and that cost them dearly. They lost their lives. One guy was very crazy. It happened in 2018. My wife's 2008, in my wife's company, and he was my wife's colleague, and the guy was driving his car with a laptop, and he hit and he crashed up, and the family lost him very young, and he had a 2-year-old baby, and I don't know what the family is doing now. One example which I could share, right? Like that, you need to basically, the fourth principle is categorize where multitasking is possible, where multitasking is impossible, where multitasking is needed, where multitasking is absolutely unnecessary. You've got to basically classify. Why it is important is it could cost your life. When you don't have life in you, when you don't have breath in your nostrils, what do? You are a dead body, right? You don't want to end up in such foolish incidents. It's act of stupidity. You don't have to do it. The world is always going to push you. Your boss is going to push you. Your company is going to push you. Sometimes your wife is going to push you. So you are the one who's going to make that judgment and decision that I'm not going to be pushed. Let people push, but I'm not going to move. I will move in my pace, I will move in my order, and I will organize things, I will plan things, and I will execute in the way how it has to be ordained. And that is what you are doing in advance. And you got to ordain things in such a way. That's why I'm telling you, planning is the key for success. Anything that you do in life, you want to taste success, planning is the key. Second, the planning introduces execution, and the execution is the one which will classify whether it could be done in parallel or whether you have to do it one after the other. For example, driving can happen as an individual task, no parallel task, no multitasking allowed. Why? You're risking your life and you're risking other people's life. For example, some pedestrian crossing by in India, it's quite common. Bangalore city, very, very common. And there could be some animals, cattle move around, dogs cross, and so many things. You could hit up the animal gets injured and you get killed. Yeah, both of you are endangering, and some little toddler crossing, all these things you will have to follow. After you reach office, obviously there are a lot of opportunities for multitasking. For example, many people in IT industry, while they attend calls in front of computer, I have a monitor, I have a screen and laptop, extended monitor. So I'm giving a certain example. If you're an IT engineer, you have an extended monitor, and what you can do is the static work. You understand what is static and dynamic, right? Static work doesn't need much attention. For example, you are into a meeting, and the meeting is happening in a Zoom room. Therefore, what you do is you take the Zoom room and you put into the extended monitor, which means you don't need to keep looking at the meeting, that room, Zoom, right? Unless somebody is presenting there. Otherwise, everybody is talking. Just pay attention, right? So two tasks are happening in parallel already. What? A meeting is running in an extended monitor. Number two, what they're discussing is entering into your ears. And number three, your brain is processing it. And number four, your hands are basically taking notes. And in the main computer, maybe your laptop, you're basically taking notes. And the fifth important thing is, while you're taking notes, you may have to connect it with some preceded events, right? What you discussed in the previous meeting, and you have to connect the dots. I'm just talking a little bit about my job profile. I'm a program manager and I deal with a lot of uh, things, and that it's no way possible for my role that I could do things in order. I can do things in a chronology. It's not possible. We have to multitask. And for example, one of the actions could be, what did we discuss last week? So what happens? The whole crowd is not going to fold their hands and wait. Okay, go please search and come. We will all go for a coffee and come. No, meeting doesn't happen that way. So you got to basically, tell them, give me a sec. And you got to see, this is where planning is the key, right? You need to anticipate. Anticipation is the sixth principle in multitasking. You got to anticipate what could be the events that could hit me. Unforeseen events hits you, you have to plan it dynamic. So let's forget that. So static events you separate, half the pressure goes off your mind. Like for example, your Zoom and all that. Dynamic events is the where your energy should go, and that's the important thing. What eases your multitasking traffic. You all are with me? And people who are not in IT industry, for example, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, not allowed. Multitasking not allowed. Why? You're handling machineries, you're handling chemicals. You're having one chemical in this hand, you're having another test tube in this hand, and you're mixing both of it, and you're looking here and there, and both are going to fall on you, and you burn up your skin. That's not allowed. Likewise, where allowed, where not allowed, we discussed. We are also parallelly assessing pros and cons. I will talk about the consequences a little later. Hang on, in 2-3 minutes we will close. Handling babies, no multitasking allowed. Handling babies in one hand and taking phone in the other hand. You will drop the baby. You drop the phone, fine, but you drop the baby, skull gets fractured, the baby gets injured, baby dies. You're not allowed as a mom, right? And for example, I've seen moms pulling the cradle, on the streets, with a wheel, and they'll be on the phone. You're on the phone talking busy, not even watching the baby. Probably there is a little reptile or an insect that is on the baby and biting, and the baby even cries, and some moms don't even notice. Am I targeting mummies here? No, absolutely. They are such a blessing to the family, but I'm telling you, these are little observations that I've seen. And importantly, pedestrians while crossing the door, multitasking. Again, phone is a big problem these days. Phone is a blessing. Yeah, I do almost. It's like a simple, it's a bank. I want cash. I go to my phone. I want to make phone call. I go to my phone. I want to browse something, surf in the internet. I go to my phone. I want to attend calls, meetings, business meetings. I go to my phone. Phone is such a blessing, but then it can also endanger your life. This morning it happened. One lady, she never looked this side. She was having her phone. Naturally, what happens? You're blocking your eyesight. You're not able to look this side, and she crosses the road in such a pace, and my wife was next to me. Luckily, we noticed, and that would happen in such a corner. I didn't have the visibility was missing, and therefore I literally have to pull my windows down, and I had to do a little yelling. I didn't go for a fight, but I told her, ma'am, watch out. What are you doing? Right? You get killed. Understand? Okay, so I think this is good enough to understand when to apply the multitasking, when not to apply the multitasking. What are the advantages? What are the benefits? We will deal with that, and we'll talk about disadvantages, and we'll close. Advantages: you progress fast forward, right? You march little faster, and you're able to complete multiple things at the same time. And it's important in life. Why? Because you have to cope up with the world, right? The world is running faster. If you're going to be in the same old university, I'm a man of that old school, I will not do this and all that. Example, I'll tell you. I was showing such a big resistance to enter into Facebook, WhatsApp, and all that for many years, right? And what happened is everything that I got as a forward or a message had a link. Even LinkedIn, I had such a resistance. Why? I don't want social media. Yeah, it's going to garbage my ears. It's going to waste my time. But then I learned my lessons. Why are you looking at garbage? Right? You pick what you want. Likewise, multitasking is very, very important. Why? Because you have to cope up with the world. You have to cope up with the demands that the world is putting right in front of you. But you don't have to embrace all the demands that the world is asking. You could prioritize. You could take one at a time, and you could basically look at things which is possible for you to embrace. And what is possible, you do it now. What is not possible, you postpone it for even 10 years. Nobody is going to hang you upside down, so don't worry, right? So you have complete control, and this is how I got into everywhere: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp. But you know what? I don't spend more than 5 minutes on any of this, but i'm one of an active I'm one of the active users there, and I know when to open, when not to open. The control is in my hands and eyes and heart and mind. Yeah, as long as you have that control, you're disciplined, you're organized, you don't have to worry. I'm just giving an example, right? Why those social medias are important is it's multitasking. I am having visibility on all the four corners, the four powerful multimedias. What's happening in the world, I get a lot of education. Likewise, if I had not chosen, or if I had picked only one of those, because I'm coming from that old school, I lose knowledge, right? I'm marching backward, I'm not marching forward. So the world will leave you behind, and they will march forward. And that's why multitasking is going to be a great advantage for you to cope up with the pace that the world is running or marching ahead, right? Automations, robotics, and so many things, cloud computing, and this and that. So in the last decade, the world has really transformed and changed, and multitasking is very, very important. It's a key to success. And even in any company you work in a garment, you work in fabrication, you work in IT industry, you work in mechanical industry, you work in chemical industry, aeronautics, doesn't matter. Multitasking is something that everybody will look in you. If you are not able to handle this multitasking efficiently, they will look for a replacement. Why? Because they're not able to wait for you to finish certain things. You got to learn, right? It's a skill, and we gave you some tips. Now, what are the consequences? We already told you. It adds a lot of stress to the brain. That's why we taught you how to prioritize, right? How to plan. Planning is the key before execution. People straight away jump into execution. I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. You will grab everything, and you will do nothing. You are a master of nothing. You will be a spoiled sport. That's why you need to plan. You need to assess your strengths and weaknesses, SWOT. strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Put a table, quadrants, right? You know your strength, you know your weaknesses, and you know what to prioritize, you know what to deprioritize, you know what to grab and what not to grab, you know what to get into and what not to get into. Make such classifications. And just because your boss is urging you, somebody is pushing you, turn around and give them a yell. You cannot push me like this. Nobody has rights to push anyone, you know that. And you can justify the reason why you cannot be pushed, because you're going to spoil the entire thing. So let me do one by one. Sometimes, like chemical engineer, you got to do one by one. All right. So these are some of the tips. Okay, the consequences are nothing but it adds a lot of stress to the brain. Some people even really, they break up in tears because they taste a lot of failure. They don't have this inborn skill. Some people take longer to inculcate the skill. You have to find a mentor to coach you, train you, guide you. It could be anyone, or consult a psychiatrist, or a lot of methods are there like yoga. You go and please practice something to release your stress. Get involved in some entertainment. It'll be a good balance. Therefore, when you get into some multitasking, you won't feel the stress. Why? Because you would have de-stressed yourself. Or maybe you will de-stress towards the end of the day. Some people get into sports and gymnasium, this and that. So you find some alternates which keeps you engaged, which keeps you kind of, which you like. If you don't like swimming, don't jump into the pool. Do what you like as an entertainment. You like cricketing, go play, be a cricketer. Therefore, what happens when you get into multitasking, although it is stressful, although a lot of things you have to handle in parallel, you would have de-stressed yourself enough in the morning. Therefore, you have your brain freed up. When you don't get into the habit of de-stressing, therefore you're adding up more stress, and someday you're going to break down. You will have a health breakdown, you will have a mental breakdown, you will end up in depression, frustration, you will resign your job, then you will go to Himalayas, and then who will supply to your needs when you don't earn? In India, you have to earn. You have to be a, if you are the breadwinner, imagine you're resigning, imagine the stress on your wife, and who will educate your children, right? Alright, so I hope this session was useful. Please share it with your friends. I took a little longer. Why? Because this is very, very important topic. Every one of us should know this. And this is only a simple tips what we are giving. You want more details, contact me. You have my details in the channel. We can get into a kind of a discussion and I can help you. God bless you. Take care and enjoy your life. Breathe easy, relax. When things come and hit you, one of the actors, he told this quote: do not be focused too much on the failures, because the tears will block. Do not focus too much on an opportunity which you had lost and get into tears, because the tears will block another opportunity that is ahead of you. So don't take too much of tension in your head. Just relax. Yeah, you have failed, fine. We will find ways to overcome. It's okay. Life is ahead of you, right? Long way to go. God bless you. Take care.